Y'all seen the Clippers yesterday? Y'all seen Westbrook? Because they was talking a lot of mess. Y'all seen Westbrook, right? So this is one thing that I do want to point out. Westbrook, what's going on? I'm not sure if this is a strategical move. I know Paul George is hurt. He's probably hurt for the rest of the postseason. It looked pretty bad, but he could get back if we get towards the end, maybe the championship. I do see Paul George coming in for a game or two just to show face. But when it comes down to it, the Clippers need to lose a couple games. Not really. I think they need to. Not really now. Maybe not right this point. But they're gonna have to take that loss because we need to fall to that sixth spot. Face the Kings first round. I know people may disagree with me because the Kings young, energetic team. We just beat Memphis, but I'm worried about a playoff driven Phoenix Suns who just last year, right? Yeah, just last year was in the finals. So I don't want to play the Western Conference champs first round in the playoffs. I don't care how they're playing right now. They could be just trying to position themselves. You know, they say I haven't been really keeping up with them too much as far as individual play, but there's been a lot of blame game on Chris Paul for the Suns. So we know Chris Paul can either blow up or choke in that preseason game. We know that. So we don't want to, in that preseason game, that postseason game, that's what I meant to say. So I don't want to jump to conclusions when it comes to Phoenix. So just being the Clippers live right now, we talking about Westbrook, right? Westbrook put up some major points last game. So just going off of it, there was no Paul George. There was obviously no Paul George, no Kawhi. All right, let's look who was Westbrook starting with. Okay, so Westbrook started with. Hold on. So there was no. This is where I'm going to the point where I think the Clippers were trying to maybe drop to the sixth spot, where they were thinking they were just going to take a loss against Memphis right now because this is who they started at small forward. Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann is really good, but don't get me wrong. With the team you have, Paul George hurt, but the team you have strong players. You know what I mean? And just looking at this right now. So power forward Nicholas Batum. He was the power forward. He's a veteran player. If you were had to have to start someone on the Clipper bench, it would definitely be Nicholas Batum. Start at power forward though. All right, so we have Zubac, the only normal starter I see on the team. Um, Eric Gordon starting, which is another veteran player, shooter. So check this out. These guys are just sitting on the bench right now. Just going through the stats. Eric Gordon put up 14. Zubac put up 10. Nicholas Batum put up 4. Terrence Mann put up 11. And Russell Westbrook, starter off and on starter, but starter material, pretty much a starter. Russell Westbrook put up 36 points. Only 4 rebounds, but 10 assists. Let's check this number out. Hater number of the year, 2 turnovers. That makes a big difference. They only won by 9 points. Even though they put up 141 points, it was only a 9 points difference because they right on them. You know what I mean? And when I'm with them, that's 3 possessions. That's 3 turnovers to possession to points, or 4. So we only had two turnovers. Eric Gordon only had 2 turnovers. Zubac had 1. Nicholas Batum had 2. Terrence Mann had 0 turnovers. So your starting lineup put up 7 turnovers. All right. Looks like Norman Powell was back, and he may have led the team in turnovers with 4 turnovers, but he only played 24 minutes, which is similar to what Eric Gordon played. So if you look at the productivity on that, like those 2 players are definitely. I would love to keep them both on the team, and I hope the Clippers do make that decision. But they're definitely two versions of the same player. You know what I mean? They both put Norman Powell. He's the sixth man. It's looking like as far as the stats. But Bones Highland, he put up a lot of points too. So this Clipper team, and just looking at the stats right now. This is fresh. I'm just reading them to y'all. I didn't really prep for this. So the bench, look at that Bones Highland. He put up 20 points. Robert Covington put up 27 points. Right? None of the starters hit over 20 points. Only Russell Westbrook, 10 assists, 20 points. He played 35 minutes, so he played time with the bench too. So he could actually, games like this and some of these guys, the Bones Highland, like we see them ball, but when you go to new places, you gotta crack that shell again. And, and once they start cracking that shell, I'm looking forward to this playoff Clipper team. Injuries, no injuries. We got squad. We're pretty deep right now. You know what I mean? So just looking at the point where they pulled Kawhi to take a loss, which I do hear that. I kind of believe it, but they always sit Kawhi. So Kawhi's always limited in minutes. They're always trying to get Kawhi to that championship game, and the problem is he's one of those guys that play so hard every game. It's hard for him to do it because you get injured. Taking on injuries you don't want to take on and all that. But with this team right here, I can see us beating Memphis, and just to be clear, Memphis is the second seeded team in the Western Conference. In the league, Memphis is sitting at the fifth spot, right? So just to give you a bit of perspective, the Clippers, on the other hand, are at the 11th spot, not too much further down. As you can see, not too much further down because we put hands on them with our with our B squad. You know what I mean? They all A squad. It's hard to call them B squad because you see them guys blow up. They've been doing that's a great example of a team with a great front office. It's a great example of a team with a great front office. You know what I mean? With a stork or something? Some food. My bad. No sidetrack. But yeah, so the Clippers, you see them just having these players and they're not even shining. They you gotta keep these guys playing, You gotta keep these guys interested. So when you don't get in the game, a lot of NBA players, they like to look at it like, oh, they don't want to play. You got all these players I'm never gonna play. But nowadays, these players know the injuries happen so often. The players, even with the players with injuries, suffer. They got to play less minutes. So you may have a LeBron on your team, like LeBron. You know what I mean? But if the team is smart, they're gonna limit their minutes. If the player is smart, he's gonna limit his minutes. You know what I mean? Unless you're built different, which LeBron's built different. You see, like the Westbrooks are built different, where they're running 40. Their injuries are minimal. They're playing hard. They're going in 100% every game, and you see that they're rarely getting hurt. LeBron does take his injuries. Yes, he's almost hitting the 40s right now. So you can't fight Father Time at that. Can't do it, no, not one bit, especially down at that level of play. So, but you see, up until a certain point, LeBron, he didn't break down too often. You know, Same as Russell Westbrook. But there are other players that do just suffer injuries. You see KD and continue to perform. They just need their time to recover. They need their rest. They need their time restrictions just until they need that whole NBA system just to get them back on point. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It can't fix genetics. You know what I mean? But you got people like Russell Westbrook, and luckily for the Clippers, we got him on our team. But see, the Lakers, they've dropped the ball on many players. The Lakers have dropped the ball on so many players. The Lakers are hyper focused, technically on like their star, quote unquote, star players. They're hyper focused on their star players to a point that they lose track of the players they need to come in. They'll trade off a good asset just to get someone at their superstar march. You know what I mean? They make a lot of bad moves, and when they get players, especially good draft picks, they don't develop them well. Usually they send them off to other teams, and they get developed, and they bring them back. I could say the Clippers did that with Eric Gordon, but that didn't happen because the Clippers, Eric Gordon was actually balling under the Clippers. They had developed Eric Gordon, so then they traded him off. He got injured. He started suffering injuries. You know what I mean? And now look at him. So he actually matured as a player. Being a certain level. Having that. They traded him for Chris Paul. So that's the type of level of player he was, right? He just was a little injury prone. One of those injury prone players. But I see he learned how to play the game, and then in the later years, you play. You don't have a lot of injuries. He's shooting threes. He's getting that jump shot. He's shooting guard. So, with all that said and done, I lost track of the point I was trying to make. We got Golden State sitting at 6. So right now, if the playoffs were to start today, we got Golden State playing the Kings. We'll have the Clippers. Hold on. Yeah, Golden State will play the Kings. The Clippers will play the Suns, right? Like I said earlier, Memphis will end up playing technically the 7th seed. So the one who wins first out of the 7 and the 8. So whoever wins first out of 7 and 8 will play. And when it comes to the playing tournament, all it takes is when you're in 7 and 8 spot. All it takes is one win. So it's just one win, and you're in. 9-10, one loss, and you're out. So the first team to win that first game will play Memphis. Then whatever the first team to either the A spot can win one still, or they can lose and then they're out. So I think it's lose 2, you're out on that one. If you won one, though, you're in. And Denver, very may well face a New Orleans team that could defeat them. So I could see this playoff picture right now completely flipping over where all the teams with home court advantage, unless the Clippers get there, are out of the playoffs first round. And not a betting man, but I may throw some bets on Vegas on that one because it's a good chance, depending how it ends up. Because I see if Oklahoma City, if the 8 and 7 spot goes in, it's a good chance especially if the Clippers meant the Lakers win first and they play Memphis, because the Lakers will beat Memphis. If New Orleans actually, I'm not too sure about. I haven't been watching them. I know they've been playing great as lately, but I believe New Orleans can beat Denver. They just got to really just stop Jokic. So we'll see how that plays out. But the playoff picture in the West is definitely interesting. The East has its. I haven't, I stay on the West a lot, so I tend to not go to the East. But the East, the same old Bucks, Boston, Philly, Cleveland, New York, Knicks, Brooklyn, and the Bulls, which I predicted to actually streak, and they're not streaking. They're not streaking at all. They're not, so they're on a 2-loss streak. Toronto's on a 3-win streak. With all that said, a lot of these teams only got 5 games left. So you don't have much room to lose, because Washington on a one win their last game, 2 games back from Chicago. So Washington can make a move for the play-in tournament, or Chicago can completely drop out if Washington wins out and Chicago loses out the next 5 games, or even 3. They would need to. Yeah, there's 2 have games. Yeah, so So if they lost 3 and they won 3, 37. Yeah, that's gonna be a little tight. It's gonna be a little tight for them. So I suggest the Bulls, put your horns down, head forward. 'Cause I'd like to see y'all in the playoffs. A great team to watch. You know what I mean? Regardless, like that's one of them organizations that may not be performing as well, but they always stay relevant in a way. You know what I mean? Always tempted to buy that Bulls jersey. The Miami Heat, game and a half out of the playoffs, but they're in the play-in. So we're looking at Brooklyn, who's on a one-win streak. I thought they were falling, but they actually turned it around, which is very interesting because they did create quite a gap between them and New York, so they're kind of stuck in the sixth seed. But they could drop to the seventh, and that would be a mistake for them if they do not play out these final games at their best play because they don't want to be in that play-in tournament with Atlanta. Nah. Them young boys will wake them up too quick, you know. And I don't know if them Northeastern boys ready for that. Atlanta, yeah, that's gonna be a whole different world out there. In the play-in tournament, them young boys, that's all you don't get a series in the playoffs. It's one loss you out. High school only to the NBA, y'all know that. So these young boys, they love these one loss. They love these one loss. These elimination tournaments. Ain't nothing better, even though it's not elimination, but ain't, they ain't taking that loss. Why take that loss? They finna run through them, so that's gonna be interesting to see. Whoever, whoever, I could do see Miami trying to keep him in check. You know what I mean? But Brooklyn finna lose to Atlanta, so Brooklyn, hold your net up, catch every basket. You gonna need it. You know what I mean? You go Boston, yeah. I already see the. In this case, you can clearly see the home teams, home court advantage teams taking the take the hold in the first round in the East. So it's not too much prediction, but which one will win it? Will it be Giannis again? Will Boston actually take over? Will Embiid get his finally? And Harden, who knows? Maybe it's their year. I would love to see Philly in the finals. Maybe the dark horse Cleveland does it. Who knows? Maybe another team not mentioned in this ad. You will see. It's gonna be it is gonna be interesting. I'm looking at this right now. Just like I said, I didn't prep too much for this one. The East, I may tune into that playoff. I'm watching all the playoff games. I'm going back. I'm watching the reruns if I missed it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna watch them all. Shout out. I ain't all about the pushing the NBA agenda and all that, but definitely I like basketball, about the sport. So I'm gonna watch all these games. 'Cause I like the matchups. We're gonna see maybe the first round in the East. I'll skip. I may skip that. May skip the play-in. I'm gonna watch the play-in on the West, and definitely there's some games I'm gonna skip on the West for sure. I'm not watching Denver play. Yeah, some of the games I'm not watching. It's just John Morant. He gonna shoot the lights out. We'll see. All right. But with that said, y'all stay up. One.